So we're here in Yuen Long district to look at the ancestral home of the Mann family. Now this building dates from around 1840 and was constructed during the Qing dynasty. And it's one of the major restoration projects being undertaken by the Antiquities and Monuments Department here in Hong Kong. And I'm delighted to have Bill Greaves along with me today to show me some of the important aspects of the restoration program here in this communal home. So this is the lime wash just on this facade here. What is the actual substrate made of? It's lime wash on top of?
Oh, that would be a sort of an early lime plaster. That would
Oh,
be
right.
Like, yeah, the lime was made here. Well, like 1,000 years ago. Right. Lime from the seashells, that sort of thing.
Right, fantastic. And I noticed that there's all this sort of cylindrical timber all over the place.
No, now these are the Chinese pine. So that's the natural sort of timber of mainland China. So,
but would they have used Chinese pine originally going back to 1840? Is this sort of an authentic replication detail?
I don't think it was deliberately done as a replica. This was, he wanted a big house, and in those days this is what a big house would have been. You wouldn't need any highly paid architects or anything like that. Even highly paid building surveyors. You get your builder and he would know his form and his local materials. Sure. This is how it would come up, you see, so you don't need any much design input in it.
But we're in an area where there's high termite activity. So,
oh, right, yeah.
So what's done to these softwood timbers to? I understand you've got a couple of methods.
Yeah, well, in the old days they used some mixture of chemicals which is very highly toxic, and it kills people if they, not only termites, if they sort of start touching them. So now we've had to use some. We steep the stuff in a termiticide.
Right.
For 24 hours and put it on. But since then we've got another more foolproof system, it seems, with these bait boxes.
Right.
It's a termite eradication system.
Oh, those were the little black boxes I could see underneath.
Right,
so
yeah.
We've got a sort of humane system for terminating
right,
the
yes,
termites.
They have a good feed and they take the stuff back to the babies, and it seems they just fall asleep or go off somewhere else on holiday.
And there's a wide use of granite here.
Oh,
why so much granite?
Well, this was the natural building stone, and it'd been easier to quarry the granite probably than mould the bricks. So it's a sort of a half and half type of thing there. Yeah. Granite was the only stone available. I'm sure if there would have been limestone, that would have been much more frequently used.
So this is actually quarried near here?
Yes, it's been quarried near here. Yeah, that's
actually in Kowloon itself.
Kowloon probably. There's some well-known quarries there. Yeah.
And what about the bricks? Because these presumably would have all been made. Would they have been made on site, or would they have been made somewhere in the village? Would there have been a?
What happened if there was a major construction project, like a walled village going on, the kilns would have been set up in that village and been going for about 5 or 6 years, and you would have got the individual colouring. Now the clay comes from the Sanchan River, which is a couple of miles up north there, and gives it the basis of the grey. Mm-hmm. You've also got to keep out your oxygen from the kiln to give it a reduction process, yeah? Now some of them, any that turn slightly red, they would have been used, and I think what you call is commons.
Yes.
In UK we use them as commons and plaster over them, but this is the sort of colour, exactly the colour that they wanted to achieve. Sort of a neutral colour, so you're not offending any feng shui principles.
Right, and this is a huge size.
Isn't it? That looks like about, what do you think, 11 inches? I don't know what the size is in Chinese terms.
Right.
11
to 12 inches, and on the width here. Yeah, and is this brick actually cut with a frog in, or is it just a flat?
It's just flat. Yeah, the frogs didn't come in until later, yeah.
And obviously, as a result of that, very fine sort of mortar course. And was there a special mortar used? Would they have used lime?
They used lime as thin as possible because the lime was very, very valuable. This, they seem to have... the ideal would be to see one very thin line of white there. This they seem to have had to because perhaps the quality of the bricks wasn't really top quality, they've had to sort of fill it in with this, like a joint. So they put a joint in and then put this line in.
Okay.
So this is really a sort of a second rate, I reckon, from a top quality. You wouldn't see that patchiness.
Yeah. We can see here on the restoration project that the height of the local water table by the river, and that is about 200 millimetre, probably a bit less, below where I'm standing. Now the problem is that during the typhoon season, the water table rises and this entire area floods. And part of the restoration work is to try and manage that problem. Now, the particular difficulty here is that we're working with a depth of land of about 200 millimetre before we hit the water table. We have quite a wide area here to be able to get the land drainage in, to be able to direct that towards the main sewers, because there isn't sufficient falls to be able to create over the distance. So it's got to have a more complex web of pipework here to be able to take off the rainwater sufficient that this doesn't become literally a quagmire during the rainy season.